Welcome to this very special edition of View from the Bleachers. In this week's episode, as a nationally respected historian, I'm proud to share never-before-seen correspondence between Thomas Jefferson and his rarely mentioned youngest son named Bradley. Thomas Jefferson is one of the greatest of our founding fathers. He was the author of the Declaration of Independence, he was the third president of the United States, and the founder of the University of Virginia, which happens to be my alma mater. So I personally have a soft spot for Mr. Jefferson. He was a prolific writer, but almost nobody has ever heard about the correspondence to his youngest son, which Jefferson penned between 1786 and 1787, when he was living in Paris, away from his entire family. He was serving as America's ambassador to France. These rare, undiscovered letters reveal a side of one of our country's founding fathers which few people ever knew. Few people knew about Bradley Jefferson, and perhaps this correspondence will give us some clues as to why so little is known about Jefferson's youngest heir. Watch and learn about this fascinating part of previously unknown American history. More on the other side. My dearest Bradley, I miss you, my youngest offspring, more than words can convey. Paris is resplendent. Notwithstanding, I sorely pine for the September leaves of our fair Charlottesville home, Monticello. Know that would it be up to me, I would be staring upon your youthful countenance at morrow's dawning. I trust you are faring well as a robust lad of 19 and making the soundest of decisions. Pray tell, how goes thee on this fine autumnal day? Your proud father, Thomas Jefferson.
Dearest father. Hello. Bradley.
My fine issue. I confess to being modestly disconcerted by the brevity of your rejoinder. Hoping was I that there might be some news of your goings-on and the state of affairs at our plantation. I miss you painfully, as I miss our dear bloodhound Bailey. Do reply anon with an account of your affairs. Your humble father, Thomas Jefferson.
Dear father, I miss Bailey too. Bradley.
Dearest Bradley, your most recent missive, if you can call a 4-word letter a missive, left me startled and bereft of joy. Is our faithful Bailey indeed no more? Please assure me he's merely on the prowl. Details, my lad, I implore you. Your concerned father, Thomas Jefferson.
Dear father, I am as mystified as you. When I returned from prison, Bailey was gone. Bradley.
Dear boy, prison? As in penitentiary? Have your enemies besieged you? What outrageous conspiracy have they spun to detain you thusly? Please delineate, as my fretful state elevates with each passing day. Your deeply troubled father, Thomas Jefferson.
Dear father, do not grieve, pondering a wrongful charge or that some affront to justice prevailed to deprive me of my liberty. I could not have been more guilty. In retrospect, I discern I should not have taken leave of my senses, imbibing insatiable quantities of spirits. Such dereliction diminished my ability to reflect upon the wisdom of my ways before robbing that bank. Lesson learned, Papa. Bradley.
Bradley, In God's name, what hast thou embarked upon now? I comprehend it not. A Jefferson plundering the reserves of a bank? Equally importantly, when did my young son start taking to the drink? I beseech thee, for the love of our Lord, explain to your father what possessed you to ransack a depository institution. Your distraught progenitor, Thomas Jefferson.
Dear father, I blame myself. I felt my pecuniary options were limited after I sold Monticello to those Egyptian fraudsters, who promised in return we would take ownership of one of the Great Pyramids. Imagine my chagrin upon learning they had no such title of ownership to grant us said pyramids. I shall never again endeavor to engage in commerce with grifting Egyptians. Bradley.
Son, surely ye jest. It cannot be that my cherished Monticello, of which I was the architect and builder, is no longer my place of refuge? How could you permit this? Are you daft? Your father, for the moment at least, TJ.
Father, I guess I was just not thinking straight ever since Mother passed. Bradley.
Frivolous boy! What in the French harlot's name? Forgive my foul discourse. Are you declaring now that your mother, my dearest Martha, the love of my life, is with God? How came this to be? Answers now! Answers! Jefferson.
Father, I did not want to bother you with such trivialities. I know you've a full plate, feasting with French kings and viscounts. Be assured, Mother suffered no pain, as she was sound asleep when her rowboat careened over the Niagara Falls. I am comforted knowing she no doubt met her Maker in an instant. Bradley.
You mutton-headed moron! I almost pause in dread, pondering the sagacity of imploring you for an elucidation of your mother's passage on a rowboat destined for such treacherous waters. Withal, I can hold back no longer. What possible circumstance emboldened her to embark on such an ill-fated terminal voyage over the dreaded, life-taking Niagara Falls? Jefferson!
Father, I can merely speculate as to her motive for taking that ill-omened journey. But were I to hazard a divination, I might posit that she was ill-suited to a life of homelessness and prostitution. Bradley. P.S. Happy 4th of July, Father.
Fuck 4th of July! I couldn't give a rat's ass about Independence Day. You'll soon be independent of any inheritance from me, that's for sure, you indolent offspring. Homelessness? Prostitution? We have countless properties suitable for dwelling, though not of the magnitude of Monticello, I understand. I am befuddled with consternation. Jefferson!
Dad, I was low on funds. Gambling is a surprisingly tricky business. Bradley.
Gambling? You dim-witted toad! Just how much of my assets did you squander anyway? Jefferson.
Dearest Dad, well, if you count your land holdings, farmsteads, and stock, along with the gold coins, and other financial instruments, plus the horses and cattle, not to mention the slaves, well, then all of it. However, nothing could part me from the quill pen with which you signed the Declaration of Independence. That will be worth thousands someday. Bradley.
You treacherous, capricious, malevolent cad. I will be on the first ship bound for Baltimore, from whence I will board the next carriage for Charlottesville. Oh, when next I gaze upon you, my reckless, foolhardy former heir, I assure you I will seize that quill pen from your wretched hand and deposit it where no light shineth. Ha! You are no son of mine. Thomas Jefferson. That was the final correspondence between father and son. Interestingly, little is known about Bradley Jefferson's life after that last communique. Some historians point to a report of a dead body found at the base of Niagara Falls with a quill pen and a copy of the Declaration of Independence stuck up his posterior. Could that have been Bradley? We may never know. But on a positive note, they eventually did find Jefferson's dog, Bailey. So this story actually does have a happy ending. And now this final observation, because once in a while there is a viewer of this video series who can't tell fact from fiction. Let me set the record straight. Jefferson never actually had a bloodhound named Bailey, nor a son named Bradley. I also made up the character Thomas Jefferson. No such person ever existed. Well, that's the view from the bleachers. I'm Tim Jones, and I want to thank my fellow thespian, Teddy Shipley, who played the part of Bradley Jefferson in this extremely authentic reenactment. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends or anyone you'd like to annoy. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for watching.